Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to talk about Leper Messiah. Metallica wrote a song that grooves like nothing else on Master of Puppets, and have barely played it in the last 40 years. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it hits way harder than people give it credit for. Leper Messiah slides right in the middle of Master of Puppets like a punch to the ribs. Groovy, pissed off, and lyrically sharp. So why has it been ignored? And why is it one of my favorites to play? In this video, I'm breaking down how this groove-oriented, overlooked song came to be. From James's late nights watching televangelists, to a Bowie lyric that wouldn't leave their heads. We'll get into the tone, the riffs, and why the song hits a lot more emotionally than you would expect. This is the story of Leper Messiah, and why it deserves more than 134 plays on stage. Leper Messiah, track number 6 on Master of Puppets, is an underrated track. The seeds for it weren't planted in the studio. It all started at the Metallica mansion. They're based in El Cerrito. James had a hard time sleeping. He'd sit up late, flipping through cable channels, only to land on the loudest thing on at 3 a.m. Christian televangelists, ranting and raving about salvation. Lars would wander in, half asleep, and the two of them would laugh at the absurdity. The begging for money, for the promise of salvation. It was ridiculous, and it wasn't harmless. The 80s were the boom years for televangelism. Religious networks were expanding fast, and some broadcasts reached millions every night. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Pat Robertson, Oral Roberts, they weren't just selling faith, they were building empires, often at the expense of the desperate. But it went beyond the TV set. These same figures started joining political circles, building coalitions, and using their platforms to steer public opinion. The audience numbers that they were bragging about were false, but the influence was real and dangerous. Hetfield saw it for what it was, manipulation disguised as hope, and that disgust made its way into his lyrics. By the time the band was locked in at Sweet Silence Studios in Copenhagen, those sleepless nights had started to echo in their writing. Leper Messiah was born out of frustration. The title itself came from David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust, an artist that Lars and Kirk were obsessed with at the time. Metallica was riding high off of Ride the Lightning, but they weren't coasting. They were pushing to outdo everything they had done before, and Elektra was giving them the reins to do as they wanted. With the success of their last release, Metallica was given full creative control. No one was breathing down their necks, which meant that Master of Puppets could be as they wanted it to be. Quick break, if you're digging this deep dive, and you want to help me keep creating videos like this, please go check out my Patreon and my YouTube membership. On both, you get early access to videos, behind the scenes content, be able to vote once a month on the videos that I create, get monthly Q&As, and on Patreon, you'll get access to all the tones that I have on there, including the one that's going to be in this video. So if you enjoy what I make, and you're interested, please go check this out. I also want to give a shout out to this guy. He's already a patron, and thank you for your support. And a special thanks to ToneDeck. They've been with me since day one. They make some of the best tone-matched album IRs in the game. So if you guys want to sound like Metallica, I would go check out their stuff, and use my discount links below. Alright, back to the video. Flemming Rasmussen was back behind the board at Sweet Silence Studios, keeping the session focused, but giving the band room to chase those darker, heavier themes. And Metallica didn't rush a second of it. From September to December of 1985, they spent their longest stretch in the studio yet, working late, chasing tones, and fine-tuning every detail that they could. James stuck to his so-what Gibson Explorer during the tracking. Even though he's seen a lot of pictures with a Jackson King V, the V didn't have the right sound that he was going for on the album, so he mostly used the Explorer. Master of Puppets also marked the first time that they would use the Mesa Boogie Mark II C+. They had recently got the endorsement before heading into the studio, and they wanted to try it out for this album. But it's a really tricky amp to dial in, so they needed Flemming's help to get the right sound. And eventually they would land on that really heavy guitar tone that we all love. That was paired with Marshall 1960A or 1960B cabs, I'm not sure which, pretty sure they had G1275s in them, and at the end of the signal chain they had the AFX EQ F2. And that's the basis of the signature tone that we all love. And if you want to go check it out for yourself, Flemming has a lot of the notes on his website. Once the drums were locked in, James was able to start layering down guitar tracks, creating the massive wall of guitars that defines this album. Guitar-wise, Leper Messiah really stands out. It's got a really groove-oriented nature, which gives it a unique identity from the rest of the tracks on Master of Puppets. And you notice that right away in the intro. It uses a combination of like non-traditional power chords and a weird offbeat timing, and it sets the tone for the song. The main riff also keeps that odd feel going. It's not overly complicated, but it definitely plays a little bit different from the rest of their stuff. And that continues into the verse riff, which is not entirely a gallop. Some of it's just heavy downstrokes, some of it's like a weird gallop thing for the transitions. And you have to get your hand placement just right for it, or it's just not going to be easy to play. Took me a while to fuck around with it to figure out just how exactly I wanted to place my hands, so that I could move to the transition that's a whole step up. So there's part A of the verse riff and there's part B of the verse riff, and you have to transition smoothly from A to B 4 times, I want to say, in the verse. So you have to place your hands correctly to do that. And again, it's using this groove that they built for the song and using the non-traditional power chords. For the bridge, it transitions into familiar territory. Chunky, classic Metallica riffing. It's really simple, but it's super heavy. And I love how they layer in the harmony here. It's one of my favorite. I haven't nailed it down quite yet, but it's still fucking dope. The truth is, this is a really simple song. It's just got like an odd feel to it, so it makes it a little bit harder to learn. There is some intricate low E picking, but it's not too overly complicated. And I love the weird feeling of the first half of the song, because once you get to the bridge, it feels like a breath of fresh air. It's more of the traditional thing that we're used to, so it makes that part feel a little more alive, and I love how everything just locks in. That contrast is what makes Leper Messiah one of my favorite songs on Master of Puppets. But it's not just the riffs that land a punch. The other aspect that makes this song hit hard is the lyrics. On the surface, it's a poetic takedown of corrupt religious leaders. But it isn't just about TV preachers. It's about manipulation, blind faith, and just how easily people give up their minds to someone with a stage and a smooth delivery. It's sarcasm turned into a weapon.
You play in the league, wow, please, spreading his disease.
And that ties directly into the larger themes on the album. Now, for some speculation on my part. The lyrics don't specifically mention this, but I think this song has a little bit to do with James's mom as well. She was a Christian Scientist, and she died because she wasn't allowed to take the medicine that would save her life, which understandably would leave someone really bitter. So it's not really a stretch to say that that anger and that disillusionment of established religion wormed its way into the song. And that's what makes this song stick with me. It's not just the riffs, it's not just the heaviness, but the feeling underneath it. It's one of those tracks that says more than it lets on. And to me, that's why it holds up in Metallica's catalog. Leper Messiah might be one of the most underrated tracks on Master of Puppets. It dropped with the album on March 3rd of 1986. And immediately, Puppets hit the Billboard 200, peaking at number 29 and staying on the Billboard for 72 consecutive weeks. No videos, barely any radio play, and it still went gold in its first year. And in support of the album, Metallica would hit the road hard, playing 144 shows in just 2 years, and even opening for Ozzy Osbourne. But Leper Messiah wouldn't get its live debut until August 20th, 1987 in London, England, over a year and a half later. And even since then, it's only been played 134 times. It's seen some love on the M72 tour, but it ranks second to last from this album, only above Orion, which they hadn't been playing because of its deep emotional connection to Cliff. I honestly don't know why it's been skipped over so often. It's not overly technical, and it's not super long like some of the songs on Justice that they've been skipping over for years. So my best guess is that with a really deep catalog, they have staples that they have to hit every night to make the fans happy. And that's only grown since Master of Puppets. And even back in '86, opening up for Ozzy Osbourne, they had to play tracks that would have the maximum impact so that they could win over the crowds they were playing for. And maybe Leper Messiah didn't have that instant earworm punch that they were looking for. Still, whatever the reason, it really bums me out. I love this song. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time. And I think it provides a really nice breakup in the middle of the album. It gives you something really groovy, heavy, and tight as hell. Right after Disposable Heroes, and right before Orion, it gives this album another gear. The riffs are weird in the best way possible. A total mindfuck the first time you learn to play it, but so much fun to play once you got it down. And that harmony section is one of my favorite of all time. The lyrics are peak Hetfield, sarcastic, biting, and full of poetic meaning. Leper Messiah is just a killer track, and if it's not in your regular rotation, give it a few more listens. And if you're a guitar player, definitely try learning it. Now let's get into my full cover of Leper Messiah, and if you enjoy my tone in this video, you can go buy it on my Patreon store.